Today on the 5-Minute Book Review, we tackle another hard-hitting literary classic about one man's struggle to overcome enormous odds. It's the WWE's own Chris Jericho's very first book, A Lion's Tale Around the World in Spandex. Yes, another wrestling autobiography. You are all welcome. Coin toss to start, and Curtis is the winner. 5-Minute Book Review with Curtis and Ian. Today we are going to look at A Lion's Tale Around the World in Spandex by the WWE's own Chris Jericho. It's available now in paperback form. I own the hardcover. Whatever. Kind of good that way. Okay, Chris Jericho Around the World in Spandex. First thing you need to know about this is it's a lot different than any of the other autobiographies that the WWE has put out. This man does not take himself seriously. He doesn't take the business seriously, and it's kind of a refreshing breath of fresh air. That didn't make any sense, but I'm going to keep going. Okay, we did Bret Hart's book a few weeks ago. He takes himself completely serious, more into the business. That's all he does. He lives and breathes the business. Chris Jericho, kind of the opposite. It's like a hobby to him, a very well-paying hobby that allows him to go and do other things. He'll take years off at a time and make a rock band, tour the world with this rock band that people are just seeing because he's Chris Jericho. But regardless, it's a fun book. It really is. His descriptions of the backstage, again, nothing gets too political. He's just there having a good time. He wants to wrestle. He wants to entertain the crowd. He wants to be remembered night in and night out. And he goes home. Yeah.
Hey, right. The book is entertaining, as is Chris Jericho. But to me, the big success of this book is the big failing of the book. It is extremely superficial. It's not an in-depth look at the wrestling industry, though I don't know really how many of those books do you need. Like you said, Bret Hart really got into it. But at the same time, it's a fantastic read because it is so superficial. It's witty, it's funny, as is Chris Jericho. It is a highly enjoyable read. I don't know about his attitude towards wrestling, whether it's like he does, you're right, it does seem like he doesn't take it very seriously, but at the same time, I don't know if his band Fozzy is really something to be considered an actual career either. But at the same time, I mean, this book is one of the funniest things I've read. I don't know if it was intended to be such a comedic book, but it was. He is obviously somebody who takes his intelligence and wit very seriously, regardless of how he feels about wrestling. But what he wrote in this book is almost refreshing when you compare it to other wrestling books that are just so intensely behind the scenes.
This guy's a warrior. I mean, he's Canadian, right? He's from Winnipeg. His dad was a famous hockey player. He's about my size. That's what makes it awesome, is he battled odds his whole life. He had to go all the way to, like, Japan and Mexico to make a name for himself before he got picked up by WCW. Underused there, then he went to WWF, made a huge name for himself. But I met the man. He's a really nice guy. I mean, this isn't some vehicle to make him into a nice guy. I met the guy at Boston Pizza once in Calgary. Took the time, signed autographs, talked to me. Really nice Canadian, one of the rare nice people in the business.
His reputation is definitely one of a positive guy, and no, this definitely isn't an attempt to whitewash any back history or whitewash any attitude problems. He's a guy that enjoys what he does, and it comes through in this book. I think that on some level, maybe he could have talked a bit more about the behind-the-scenes stuff, but at the same time, I mean, again, how many times do you need to do that? How many times do you really need to hear the same story? Oh, there's drugs in wrestling. Oh, there's this crap behind the scenes. People who watch it, they know that already. It just is what it is.
How many people do you think felt cheated, though? Because this book leads right up to the moment he makes his WWE debut, and then it ends. So you don't hear any backstage WWE stories.
I don't think anybody should feel cheated by that. I mean, the reality is,
there's going to be a follow-up book.
Exactly. He's going to write more books. He's obviously a guy with a lot to say. And part of me kind of hopes on some level the next book doesn't go into a lot of behind-the-scenes stories, unless they're just, funny, ha-ha, we did this kind of stories. But I mean, at the same time, it just sort of seems to be what wrestling biographies end up being. They end up being the same sort of, Vince McMahon screwed me behind the scenes, and
I like how he put a disclaimer at the beginning, though. I mean, good for him to force change and actually get this book published when it did, because this came out shortly after Chris Benoit committed some horrible crimes. And he talks about Chris Benoit glowingly in this book because he was a huge influence on Chris Jericho growing up, and he just kind of at the beginning says, when I talk about Chris Benoit, it's the old Chris Benoit, not the Chris Benoit that everybody remembers.
It's a classy thing to do.
Yeah, absolutely. Read it.
Read it.
Fun.